What hobby do you enjoy that's cheap/free? Cooking can be a pretty cheap hobby. I mean, you have to eat anyway, might as well enjoy the processes of making your own food. Scroll through Reddit trying to find new hobbies and enjoyment but not actually getting anywhere. I make things out of willow. Any bendy stick will do. Takes weeks but I just keep adding more sticks until it fills the space where I see the object. I started by deciding to make a nest one day out of some logs and limbs. It turned into a huge weaver's nest. Since then I've done moose, sea serpents, herons, owls, just all kinds of things. Here's a horse someone asked me to make for them. I grow my own willow now but it was definitely a free hobby. I actually have honest talks with myself through writing. You'd be amazed how much reading your own thoughts can help you. Enjoy nature. Hiking. Find parks or trails in your area and check them out. There are a lot of cool places to explore. I will email politicians asking for their autograph. Since politicians work for the people, they usually oblige. I have received correspondence from my local MPs, random mayors in South Africa, to a few Norwegian prime ministers. I don't know why I do it, I guess I like getting things in the mail. Edit, thanks for awards. There are my first ever awards and I appreciate it. And you. Smile. GeoGuess. Working out. Even when stuck indoors self-isolating or whatever, there is a lot of stuff you can do without any equipment. Body weight stuff like press-ups, squats, sit-ups etc. Origami. You can buy paper for dirt cheap, and spend hours folding. Chess. Reading books. Playing tabletop role-playing games with friends. It can be an expensive hobby if you want it to be, but it can be totally free too. All you need are a couple of friends, a rule set, and a pencil and paper. Dice are nice too but technically you can get away with an app or just Google. I like to build blanket forts and stuff. Yeah, I know I've kinda outgrown it but I still think it's fun. Pouring river water in my socks. Cross stitch. Basically pixel art on fabric. You can get a ton of patterns online for free or just a few bucks, and the thread/fabric for a first project usually runs $5 to $10 and will keep you busy several hours. You can buy a beginner kit at any hobby store. It's what I do to unwind every night and I've had some beautiful results if I may say so. Smile. Procrastination. There could be a slight possibility that we may, in fact, be in a video game, and that making the right sequence of steps, jumps, and crouches could activate cheats. For the past 6 weeks, I've been determined to figure these codes out, but so far I've only activated a sprained ankle and diarrhea. At the very least, it's exercise. Baking. Most baking ingredients are cheap and you can end up saving money on not buying baked goods. Walking. Reading. Books are generally cheap and nowadays you can even find lots of classics online for free. Making environments for tabletop pen and paper games. You can start out very cheap just using what you have. Drawing. Hiking. Everyone talks about the best gear and map reading skills but in reality to get started all you need to do is get yourself a semi-decent pair of boots/trail runners and head outside. If you're a beginner stick to popular trails, then you can slowly build up map reading skills and slowly get gear if you want to. Embroidery. While there are lots of tools and fancy equipment you can get if you get really into it, it's one of the cheaper crafts to get started with. You just need some fabric, a hoop, some needles, and some embroidery floss. You can get started with about $10. I bought one kit to see if I liked it and then used the leftover materials plus a piece of scrap fabric to start making my own designs. Disc golf. $10 state park pass for the year and then just buy discs, can get a set for like $30. After that cost, it is just gas to get to the park. There are paid courses but I enjoy the ones at the state parks. Plus that $10 a year I pay helps upkeep on the parks. Looking at rocks, collecting rocks, using sandpaper and labor to polish rocks. Sleeping. Disc golf. Most courses are situated in or around public parks, so they're open to anyone. All you need is 3 discs to get started. A driver, mid-range, and a putting disc. A starter set might be $20. You're good to play around. Mind you, the hobby can get expensive. If you find that you like the hobby, you're gonna want to get discs with better quality plastic, that won't warp when you snipe a tree, different discs for different situations, a bag to carry them all in, etc. But just to find out if you like the hobby, the initial buy-in is remarkably cheap. Reading. Check your local library, they likely lend out ebooks for free and you can read them on your phone if you don't have an ebook reader. There's a lot of crafty skills that can be done very cheaply: embroidery, needle felting, sewing. If you're willing to get creative with your fabric sources, and drawing just takes paper and a pen or pencil. Painting can be fairly cheap too, depending on what sort and quality of paints you use. There are tons of free art tutorials on YouTube. Writing. While I have spent money on it, literally just a world-building software, I can do it for free. It's a great place to offload all my thoughts and ideas. And it's also really fun to just get into the headspace of the various character perspectives. Singing. Knitting is relatively inexpensive, especially in the beginning when you're learning technique and yarn quality isn't as important. Once you learn the basics, you can make scarves and hats quickly and easily. Mushroom hunting. Arrowhead hunting. I think it's neat to find something that humans made that hasn't been touched in hundreds or thousands of years. I live near a river in the Midwest, US, and the farmers' fields along the river tend to have a good supply of Stone Age tools/weapons. Always get permission first though. Online shopping, but just adding stuff to my cart and never actually buying it. Playing/listening to music. Yelling at clouds. Okay, this will probably sound really creepy, but if I am being honest, people watching. If I am outside somewhere, I often have a habit of just observing others. It's not just specifically people, it could be a bird landing and pecking at the ground, or noticing something floating in the air that has caught my attention. But I do often find myself just curiously observing people. I try not to be a creep and stare at any person too long because that's kind of rude. But I am naturally curious about others. I like viewing how others dress, what mannerisms they have, how they smile, how they walk, stand, etc. I just find it interesting to be on the outside seeing people existing. I don't know how else to explain it. There is no malicious intent, creepiness, or judgment on my part. I'm just curious about others around me. I don't know if this is technically a hobby, because I don't go out of my way to do this or plan it. But I definitely spend a lot of my time observing others if I'm out in public and have nothing to do. Lol. Overthinking. Cooking isn't free, but for a long time I've tried to do the most I can with whatever ingredients I have available. Forcing myself to become more imaginative and creative with cooking, it's become a hobby for me. Now I've been professionally trained and had plenty of kitchen experience, but cooking at home is still a hobby. It's not expensive if you're not always trying to shoot for the stars. Just focus on making the meals you were already making, and find ways to church them up a bit. Sitting on the couch and daydreaming about space fleet battles. Free video games from Epic Games. Cheap hobby, probably doing word searches. Walking in the nature. Kumihimo, macrame and decorative Chinese knotting. Taking electronics I own apart and trying to put them back together. Home brewing. It's not necessarily cheap/free, but I was going to spend the money on good beer anyway, so I might as well make a hobby out of it. Once your initial equipment investment is done, you're just paying for ingredients, which are pretty inexpensive, around 75 cents per beer on an EPA for 5-gallon batches, cheaper for less hoppy styles. At the low end you can be into the hobby for around $100 to $150, and for a high quality setup you're talking $3 to $500. Ingredients cost me $30 to $40 per 5-gallon batch, which means I'm spending half what I would normally on craft beer. It takes about a year or two to amortize your initial equipment costs, and at that point you're playing with house money. Granted, with higher-end equipment there's basically no upper limit to what you can spend on this hobby, but that basically only applies if you're someone with gear acquisition syndrome. It's also helped me cut my alcohol consumption down, at least since the holidays, because at this point I'm trying to only drink what I brew, which means fewer trips to the beer store just because I feel like it. It's also a fun creative outlet for me. I probably spend as much time planning my brew days and designing recipes as I do brewing the beer itself. Cooking is a lot of fun. There are a ton of basic recipes to begin with online for free. Crochet, cycling along canals, running, coin roll hunting r/CRH. You buy rolls of coins from the bank, search them for rare dates, old coins, errors, EA double strikes, off-center strikes, silver coins, in rolls of dimes/quarters/halves, foreign coins. Then you either roll them back up or bring to a coin counting machine. The only cost is the coins you keep. Creating weird/creepy things out of the stuff in my house that I don't use, it's just fun to stare at them. Reddit. Coding. I've written my own emulators for retro gaming systems, Atari 2600, NES, Game Boy, etc. Going to the library. I do foraging/wildcrafting in the last few years. So far my only expense was $10 garden gloves for dealing with extra mean plants. On the contrary, it supplies me with a supply of herbal teas, spices, and, depending on the season, fruit and vegetables and various goods made from them, including ones that are way above my budget, had I bought them in the grocery store. Caution 1. Please avoid eating or using wild plants unless you are 100% certain you know what they are and how to handle them correctly. Caution 2, please harvest responsibly. Don't take more than you need, and make sure not to damage plants along the way, and leave enough of the plant and/or patch to recover and grow again the next year. Leave struggling plants, protected species and nature reserves alone. Chess, card tricks, juggling, table tennis,